So something's different today. You might notice that there's quite a lot of board games behind me. And that's because I've decided to sell most of my possession, most of my stuff. I have decided to do that so I can move to like Italy or somewhere, or Spain, or Portugal's my top destination, but somewhere along that latitude basically. I got an Irish passport in 2016 to do it, and then I moved house 3 times last year and decided I don't want to move 250 board games again, so I decided to sell them in a fun way that I would share with you. So let's dive in. So what you'll see is I have created a system. The first system is basically all of these names which I've hidden, and I've turned them all into superheroes. So I'll show you how I did that in a second. In fact, I could show you many things about this base. It did take me about 25 hours to build. I had the most fun. It was maybe at least on a par with some of my top 20 board games. That level of fun building this and the whole process and stuff like that. So what I did was I created a bidding system. I set a ton of games in here, and then what I did was I used a combination of Airtable and Make and Zapier to build it. The first piece I did was pull in all of the possible board games that existed in Board Game Geek's top 2,000 board games, or 10,000 board games. Brought them all in using an API, which I'll hop in and show you here. And what we did was in here, where we got a new item in Airtable. In fact, I did a batch process before I did this, but anyway. Then we go and get the Board Game Geek ID, and then we bring in all of the return data. So you'll see that the webhook that I used, or the HTTP call that I used, brings in a bunch of data, and we just need to parse that out. If you'd like me to do a separate video on this process, I'd be very happy to. But the core of what I was trying to do was bring in games so I could display them in a nice way. So as you can see, currently we have sold 113 of the board games. Created this view which has got here, which has basically got all of the available board games that you can buy. Some of these are amazing, some of these are not so amazing, but most of them are amazing. These are all the ones that are left as well that we can see here. I then created a bidding process, and I think there was an interesting dynamic here where I set this all up, and I think there was 3 things that I wanted to talk about, which were very curious. That came up from a psychological or sociological perspective. One of them was when I did this, people that knew me and people that didn't know me were like, "Have you lost your mind? Are you okay? Are you good? How are you within yourself? Are you all right?" And I found that very bizarre, because to me, the process of stuff is the joy, right? That's how I get joy out of life. The end goal is pointless, because that's never got an end goal. If I keep collecting board games, that's never got an end goal. It's like, I got my fun out of it. I'm going to stop now, and that's all right. Like, I know that wherever I go in life, in the world, there'll always be a board game cafe, and yeah, I won't have the power to choose what board game I play often, but that's okay. And if that's all that I'm collecting them for, the power to choose what board game that I want to play, it's not a reason. And ultimately, I moved house 3 times last year, and I decided I'm not doing that again, particularly if I move to the Mediterranean, or that latitude, like I said. And but it's sweet, it's lovely, and I appreciate it. If you reached out to me, and many people did, too many people, but many people did. If you reached out to me, thank you. I'm all right. I just don't need bunch of board games anymore, and that's like perfectly fine. The second thing that was very interesting was that people, if they didn't reach out to me to say, "You're right, they reached out to me to warn me about ways that people would game the system. And I thought that was quite sad as well. Like, so far, not a very positive indictment on human civilization at the moment. I considered many of the points. So I came up with a few solutions, and the first was creating a system to manually approve bids before they came in, and lo and behold, I launched it. It was live, and then somebody like bid $10 on every single game above 100 quid, and I said, well, I'd rather give to charity than give anything to you, pal. So that's what would happen. So that was the second thing. And that was a bit sad as well. I was sad that it actually happened. I didn't think I would actually need the systems that I created. I thought they were just fail-safes, safeguards. I had too much hope. I'm too bright-eyed and hopeful with human society that I thought that people wouldn't try to take advantage of me, but they did. Well, one person did. And I said, hey, pal, on your bike. The third thing that was interesting was that people were aghast that I was going to give some money or some of these to charity. And I think when I woke up, and a couple of people had messaged me, and I read them, and I thought, like, don't give them to charity. Like, I'll take them. Of course you will take them, but like, that's not the point. So I rubbed my eyes and I looked up, and there was a big poster for a charity that I mentioned before called Tiny Changes. A big poster above my bed reminding me to make tiny changes to Earth. And I thought, do you know what? Like, I'm going to like reach out to them and see if they're interested in helping me. I've got a whole bunch of Frightened Rabbit stuff that, like, yes, Frightened Rabbit are my favourite band, but there's nothing stopping me listening to them. I don't need a poster. I don't need signed things or anything like that. So, or records. I don't need them all. They're all luxuries. So 3 things that were interesting about this process, and all of it was fun, but those 3 things. Yes, I'm all right. Why do people cheat? And why do people not want to give me why give anything to charity? People are like broken, and then they're like, are you all right? Are you all right? So what I'm going to show you is a really cool way that I handled the obfuscation of people's data so that I can use this publicly in YouTube videos or something like that. So I create basically what we do is use a really cool function that I was very impressed with when I first saw it back in 2016 called create a superhero name, right? So and that's fake name there. So what we do is we take the name and then we give them a superhero name, and then we output it as the superhero name. So the step 1 is when we get a new bid in Airtable. We then format their name and make sure that we can obfuscate it, and then we update it in Airtable so that when we go to see the bids, you can see that we've got tons and tons and tons of bids in here, and that Tiger Hornet and Super Dusk trying to mess with me. Those were the people who I was talking about that decided that they would bid £10 on £10 on Arkwright and £10 on Rococo, and £10 on Container and £10 on Viticulture. All of the games I just mentioned retail and sell second hand even for above like £80, which is about $90. So needless to say, I did not entertain Tiger Hornet and Super Dusk. They both were put on hold in case I desperately needed to sell them. But the point of the process was to sell them quickly. I want to go on holiday at the end of the year, and I want to make sure that I can potentially put my flat up for sale or put it up for rent, whichever one I decide, and figure out what I want to do there. So I hope that was informative. If you want to find out how you can do more with Airtable and Zapier or Make, give me a follow, like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.